Hi, my name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network Woman of Inspiration Awards. And this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who lead, inspire, and motivate. Today's guest, we are honored to have Kelly Cooper. She is the president and founder of the Center for Social Intelligence. She's also a two-time author, global change leader, and a 2025 a Woman of Inspiration Vision Builder Awardee. Kelly's journey is one of courage, conviction, and clarity. From growing up unseen at the dinner table to navigating male dominated industries to leading groundbreaking national and international initiatives advancing equity and inclusion. Kelly has never taken the easy road. Her work has transformed workplaces across STEM, mining, forestry, and natural resource sectors, proving that social intelligence is not a soft skill, but a strategic imperative. Kelly is a woman who doesn't just challenge the systems, she redefines them. And in doing so, she creates spaces for others to do the same. Kelly, it's my pleasure. Welcome to the Woman of Inspiration podcast. We're honored to celebrate your leadership and your vision and your embodied path you continue to forge ahead. So, listeners, get ready to be inspired. Kelly, how are you doing today? I am so excited to have you on the podcast. We just had a wild, announcing the 2025 Woman of Inspiration. So, let's start there. How does it feel to be recognized?
I am very excited, not only to be recognized for that award, but just to be here with you today and to have this opportunity to share more about my story. So thank you.
Well, this is exactly what we're going to do. So, listeners, Kelly has a really great story, and, she's the author of two books. She's really on a path and she's changing some systemic barriers. She's opening pathways that weren't there before. And so, Kelly, where I'd love to start with is your embodied beginnings. And so that is the name of your second book. That is really what we talked about as being like the true Kelly. So where does your story begin? Do you remember what you were, dreaming up? And I always ask this question, what did you want to be when you grew up? Do you remember 12-year-old Kelly?
So I just want to clarify it was the Emboldened Warrior. So you have the embodied. I just want to
Emboldened
make sure
warrior.
people hear it
Oh
right.
my gosh.
That's okay.
Thank you.
So when I was 12, you know what? I did not have a set plan. I was very much a tomboy. And having grown up with three older brothers, life was and a sister, but I didn't have a plan. I really didn't. I just was doing my own thing. I was just being a kid. So I don't really have a. I wasn't one of those kids who said I want to be a doctor, or I was never pushed to be into a certain role. Quite the opposite, I'd say. People weren't really paying any attention. So
We had this conversation in the green room, Kelly, about, this time that we're living in right now for young women versus the time that you and I grew up, where our family dinner tables weren't about, hey, so are you going to go change the world and let's help you do it? Like there wasn't that conversation and
for
and
sure.
maybe you and I are, kind of not the norm, but I don't think those conversations were being had. I know myself, I didn't have any female role models except the women
Hmm.
that were in my life. And I didn't
Hmm.
even realize the resilience and grit until I got much older and realized that that's benefited me. But what was your experience
Definitely.
with that as well?
Yeah, I definitely didn't have any female role models, that's for sure. It was almost like playing a game of survival as a kid, dealing with, I got picked on at school. I had brothers that picked on me, tried to humiliate me, like all the things you think of, being the youngest and being a girl, like it wasn't easy. So I had a tough time through my younger years. My parents split as well when I was young. And my dad wasn't really around at all. He was in the States, so I only saw him like once or twice a year. So there was a real disconnect there. And then as I got into high school, I was on every single thing you can think of. I was on every single sports team, basketball, volleyball, track and field. I was on the city swim team. I was in the band. I played the piano to the Royal Conservatory at Western University till grade 8 piano, Royal Conservatory. had a job, had a boyfriend. Like I was a going concern. I was always on the go. So when I was in my high school years, it was my mom who saw something different in me, and I was just reflecting on it today, actually, why I became an entrepreneur. And she took me to get one of those, I don't know what they were, like a, not necessarily, I don't know, an aptitude test, but it was something about your career path opportunities, or she saw something in me. And and that actually did reflect that I should be my own entrepreneur business, kind of person. But I didn't do that right away. So
So
yeah,
let's
that was sort of
talk
an early indicator that something to put on the, like kind of got put in the back of my mind. But you don't start out like that. Not a lot of people do, although I have mentored girls now who do that, but not at those days. That wasn't happening.
Mm. I think that's an important conversation to have because we talk about how fast things are not moving forward. And I see changes, I mean, even in the period of time over the past decade that I've been having conversations with women and leaders like yourself. I mean, they're more visible. We just didn't have the visible representation of female leaders. So um, I think that by elevating and celebrating your leadership and certainly recognizing your path is incredibly important for the women listening, but also for their daughters.
Definitely, definitely, 100%. I agree with that.
So let's talk about that career path and that journey. So those seeds that were planted or kind of like really subtly planted when you were younger
Mhm.
didn't really come to play until much later in life. So let's talk about that story.
Well, I sort of bucked the system many times in my family. So everyone went to Western in London, Ontario, and I went to U of T. I got accepted to Toronto. And to me, that I was just like, great, I can get away. I wanted to have my space. It's also a very good school. And my dad would say, oh, you should go and get a business degree. It was all about economics. And I didn't. I went into science. So that was one big change. Moved cities, took a science degree at U of T, thrived in that environment, totally thrived. And then when that finished, everyone was in my age group were kind of, if they were doing any travel after university, they were going to Europe. But I wanted to go to Africa. And I had, at the time, and I guess it was second or third year summer job where I stayed in Toronto. The first summer I went home, but then after that I didn't. And I think it was the third summer I worked for a small consulting firm, and the person who had led that firm, I really looked up to, and he kind of took me under his wing and saw things in me that I didn't know about myself yet. And he had been to Africa, and when he spoke about it, I just was so inspired, and I was so like, gosh, I got to go there. So after school finished for me, I just focused. That was my goal. I'm like, okay, I'm going to save enough. I found it was an overnight camping kind of, it was a camping trip for 2 months. And I found out how much that was going to cost. And I just worked at a job that gave me that money and off I went. So that was the following January. So I worked like crazy for 4 months and took a 2 month trip to Africa by myself. And I met up with a bunch of Aussies and Kiwis who were always traveling around the world and had the best time of my life. It was just amazing. Came back completely transformed.
Mm.
Um, I had, people here, they often take a lot for granted that what they have and the opportunities they have, and they have no clue how much they have going for them or so much at their fingertips that if they have an idea, all it takes is like just like look for the opportunities. You can make anything happen. You really can.
Lock in.
Lock
The
in,
word right now
exactly.
is lock in on that idea.
Right. And I was locked. So I was like, okay, this is what I want, so I'm going to do. And that's what I kept doing throughout my 20s. I had a lot of great experiences like that. I applied to the 30 under 30 program, and I was chosen as one of the 30. And I went overseas again. I went to India, and I was on a 6 month placement there. Did a lot of traveling around that, but again, massive learning in so many ways beyond textbook. In between that, I decided I wanted to go and learn Spanish, and I went and lived in Guatemala with a family for 6 weeks. And it was just like, I want to do it, do it. Want to do that, do it. So that's just the way my 20s went. And it was excellent. It was very exciting.
So,
Um,
So let me
Yeah.
ask you something before we get down the road too fast, because I think there's something really important here that we would speed over if we didn't take time to talk about it. And I think, and from experience, I also went on a little field trip to Africa by myself as a woman when I was 18.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so as a female in a country alone, I mean, that was French and Arabic. I mean, I took band like you, so there was no second language to fall back on. So communication was hard for me, especially in, North Africa. Um, but those situations, if you go back to that moment, do you think that first trip, that solo trip overseas really solidified? You said it changed you, and I want to talk about
Sure.
that because I think it's really important that we identify those key pieces that change that are life-changing for us.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I appreciate you wanting to dig into it. I think you're right. I mean, that was a changing moment for me. Like I say, just appreciating what we had in Canada. I mean, I came back from that trip crying the whole way home.
Me
I didn't
too.
want to come home. Like I really had a counterculture shock
Mm,
reintegrating into Toronto. It was like this landscape, whereas I was living in a tent prior with like in the Serengeti. You know what I mean? Like it was an
mm.
incredibly I just love nature. I love the animals. Like I was so at home and at peace. I didn't care about the poverty that was there. Like I was just really immersed in the culture. And it really was me. Like I just felt so good. In fact, it was so good. The trip went from Kenya to Zimbabwe, and at the end, I actually tried to get a job. And get this, so I'm 22, and I'm like, I gotta stay here. I have to find a way to stay here. So I found this job in the paper, and it was to be I can't remember the exact word, but it was like the person that got in the way of poachers and rhinoceros, like and game.
Wow, that's a great job. That's where the warrior really comes from in your story, Kelly.
True, I had
It's
just
so clear now.
You know what? I forgot all about that till this minute. So, and
Right?
I remember going down the hallway in that place with the ad and, knocking on the door. And the guy looks at me and I'm here about this job. And he was like, who is this thin, white, young woman thinking that she can have this job? Like, this is crazy. But I was like, well, is there anything here I could be doing? Like, I'd really like to find a way to stay. And yeah, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he probably thought I was absolutely crazy.
Well,
Needless
I
to
do.
say, I had to come home anyways, but
So what's interesting about that is I know that even when I was on safari in South Africa, the
hmm
little, so the tracker that sits on the front, the animals only recognize black people. And so it might have even been a safety thing, not a man or a woman thing, but just a color of his skin, meaning that they're used to seeing a tracker that's, a black man sitting on the front, going through with animals all around. And the
yeah.
moment they swapped out a black for a white person, the animals freaked out. They're like, hold on a sec, that's not right. We don't recognize that. So it might have even been something really like, and I mean, maybe that's my optimism, right? It can't be that they were like saying, no, you can't do it because you're a woman. They're doing it because they want a black person in that role because
hmm
that's what the
hmm
animals are used to.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I always go to the optimism,
Sure. That
right?
works. I hadn't heard that before, but yeah.
So, okay, so we've got some really courageous experiences that have shaped you that not very many people have had the opportunity to do. So I'm seeing the warrior develop before you even had to utilize those skills. So
Mm.
let's continue that story.
So, yeah, when I came back, oh, yeah, okay, I'm mixing up things. There's quite a bit that went on. So, yeah, I went after the first trip to Africa, because I've been there a couple times. I got a job in my line of work, which was environmental science. That was a new career path in those days. Environmental science, I think I graduated as maybe the first or second year at U of T. in that particular program. So when I graduated, I literally went through the yellow pages in
And for those
Toronto.
that are listening, the yellow pages are how we used to find phone numbers and
Yeah,
addresses
yeah,
before Google and the internet.
the internet. Yeah. So I literally imagine this. I'm in Toronto, big city. I grab the yellow pages and I look up environmental, industry or companies, whatever the title head was. And I literally phoned every single one because there weren't that many. I don't know, there were maybe 5 pages that I flipped, so maybe 10 pages. I would phone every single one, ask for the name of the HR person, see if they were hiring at all, and hang up the phone. And I did that for a whole bunch of them. And then I wrote cover letters, sent my resume, and I
Wow.
got a call. And I got interviewed by this company. At the time, it was called Jakes Whitford. It's now been bought out by Stantec. It's an environmental engineering firm. And at the time, they didn't have a Toronto office yet, but they had an Ottawa office. And so the guy who founded the company, who was one of two people, called me in for an interview. He was really harsh with me. Like he was really kind of grilling me with questions. But I was just myself, but I could kind of talk to men, always have, I think, because of my upbringing. And so I just was, quick, rapid fire. Like I was able to handle it. And he liked that. So he turned to the two guys, one who was starting the Toronto office, the other guys from Ottawa. He goes, I don't care which one of you hires her, just hire her. So the guy in Ottawa hired me. So I got my little U-Haul truck and I drove to Ottawa for the first time, shocked that it was a single lane highway from Toronto to Ottawa, to the nation's capital,
Wow.
and set up shop. And then, so I was in there for about a year. And of course, the government was a client or a potential client. So half of my job was environmental science work. The other side was business development. And that office had 50 people in it. There were only one other woman at the time that wasn't support staff. I was it. So half that time I was trying to solicit contracts and opportunities within the feds. So I would be we'd have these marketing meetings at the beginning of once a week, and there'd often be like senator tickets to go take a client. And I was like, oh, I'll do it. So I ended up taking a client once, which the guy ended up trying to make out with me. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, this isn't what this is about. So, anyway, that was the beginning of some of my professional experiences on the challenges women face in the male dominated sectors, which you can learn more about in my first book called Lead the Change: The Competitive Advantage of Gender Diversity and Inclusion. So I weave a lot of my personal professional experiences in there. But yeah, so there, and then within that, I found somebody in the government wanted to bring me in. So for an interchange. So for a 1 year interchange with the UN file was the Rio plus five file. And the Rio plus five file was after 5 years from the UN Commission on Environment and Development, which was really the mecca of sustainable development issues. So I was given that file to go create basically go around the world and get success stories on sustainable development since Rio started, which was in 1992. So that was such a cool job. And so I was literally at 26 flying down, given the responsibility by myself to flying down to Washington. I met with the Global Environment Facility, UNDP, UNEP, created something where I got them to be fundraisers for the exhibition I was putting on in the hallway of the Rio Plus Five Summit in New York, and I had funds to hire a consultant to help me do this whole thing. But anyway, I went to New York. I went into Washington. Eventually, had to go to Africa again for work, which was friggin' excellent to be able to go there for work on a business class ticket, like the whole thing. So that year was spectacular. Every year it was kind of like that. So I don't know. We could take a long time just going through my resume, but the next year came back. After that was successful and wonderful. I didn't want to go back to the engineering firm. So I found another, the next hot file was the lead up to Kyoto Protocol, which was all about climate change. So right now to
Wow.
give,
And this was what year was
this
this,
was
Kelly?
COP 3, Conference of the Parties 3. So now we're talking 1998, leading up to 98. So that was, now I think we're at COP 30. I think that just happened in Brazil last month, COP 30. So that's, yeah, that's how long ago. So that was also an exciting year, obviously. Then I was supposed to go back again after to the engineering firm, and I was like, you know what, I'm out. I can't see myself fitting into that culture. And so I decided to start my own business then. I started to do some consulting, but that didn't last too long because what happened there? Oh, I got into the 30 under 30 program. And then I was off to India for the better part of a year. While I was in India, I applied to go to the University of Sussex for my master's. And at the same time, out of the sky, Ontario Power Generation found out I was in India and they offered me a contract to do on the side of my job there, which landed me more money than I had ever had in my life. I got $100,000 contract out of nowhere at the age of 29. It's a lot of money back
Wow.
then. So when I found out I got accepted to University of Sussex, I'm like, because at the time of applying, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this, but it would be really cool if I had that on my resume. So I applied, and then this money came out of nowhere, which paid for it, right?
Amazing.
So
Thank
it
you,
was just one of those
universe.
things like follow your dreams and the whole world will conspire to help you. That has been my little slogan. So it's like, here we go. This is the next adventure, right? So that's kind of how it's always gone. And then when I came back from that, I was doing my thesis, and it was all on the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And I forgot to share earlier, I went to the Arctic before going to Africa the first time to do research for 2 months in the North. So I have a passion for the North. But when I came back, I was like looking around at Fisheries and Oceans Department for some information. And the guy there was like, do you want to talk research or do you want a job? And I was like, sure, I'll get a job would be helpful now. Fine. So I went into that because I knew I was getting married at that point. And very quickly after that, I had my first child, and the benefits are the best there. So I stayed in the government, found myself getting into a full-time competition, and subsequently had my second baby there. And after 11 years of being in the government and enjoying really good files, hot files, Mackenzie Gas Pipeline, Aboriginal Economic Development Framework, the Oceans Act, which had never been created, like a number of cool things. I was like, you know what? The bureaucracy is just, it's kind of killing my creativity. And I have passion to do my own thing. And so I left, and at the same time decided to split from my first husband. So it was a complete uprooting and shift in my life on both
With
fronts
two kids now.
with two kids. So that was a big sort of tectonic plate shift in my life. Um, and then I started in on my own business. So that's been going on since 2013 now, that I've been spearheading the Center for Social Intelligence.
Amazing. I love your spirit, your sense for adventure, and I definitely see where the warrior was already seed planted and continued. It's interesting going back to what did you want to be when you grew up? I mean, I think sometimes those you just have to follow your intuition. You have to follow the opportunities. And, one of our favorite quote is women of inspiration don't wait for opportunities, we create them. So you have created opportunities for yourself every single time. And people are always fascinated learning the stories because you're like, how did she get to where she is? And it's that one thing. It's you create your opportunities. You just go for it. You don't wait for it to happen to you.
And you
So
know,
go ahead.
yeah, no, I was going to say, and sometimes you don't even know it's like in experiences that I've had, you don't consider how you're going to be until you're in those circumstances. And I can share a fun story from that's also my first book, but I remember you'll remember the Walkman.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I had the Yellow Pages and Walkman. I wish I still had kept one of those. And darn.
So dating myself. But anyway, I was speed walking around the canal, exercising, so can't run. I don't have very good lungs. Anyway, Walkman was on, broad daylight, okay, Saturday afternoon, wearing my running tights and a sweatshirt. Anyway, and this is the year I'd gone all over the world by myself, okay? No problems, never been attacked or nothing. On my walk, I had the Walkman on, couldn't hear anything. All of a sudden, this arm came over my shoulder and grabbed my crotch. So I was like, of course, startled, and I threw my arm back, thinking, who do I know that does would do that? Of course, nobody I know would do that. And I turned, and the guy had his hand, the other hand down his pants.
Oh my
So
God.
I just became Godzilla, and I was like, just ran after him. It was like fight or flight. It was like fight. I ran after this guy, and it went up and around a corner, and he got kind of cornered in the back because there was a fence. And I grabbed the shirt on him, and he's like, "Don't touch me!" And I was like, "You touched me!" Grabbed him, dragged him to the sidewalk, and this truck come whizzing around the corner, and this woman pops out. She's like, "I'm an off-duty police officer. I saw the chase." She takes the guy, throws him against the truck, and he went to jail. He had done this to a number of women before me. So that was a moment of fight or flight. Don't repeat maybe what I did because I don't want to be responsible for anyone getting harmed. And I was fortunate, because that was again back to the 90s, obviously the Walkman reference, and things are different now. But I was like not taking anybody, like nobody's doing that to me. Okay.
Don't mess with me, mister. Like,
Hmm.
that's such a good message. Like, we don't, like, women do not have to take harassment, verbal abuse. Um, there is, we just don't have to settle for anything less than respect.
That's right. That's right. And
You're,
that carries on in the second book in another way, which I think you know more about that story where I wasn't putting up with any crap either. So,
so do you want to talk about that next chapter about not putting up any crap? I mean, there's so many things where we could go and, pivot here. Do you want to go into that, or do you want to go into, kind of that 32? Remember when you were 32 and you experienced a lot of loss around you,
mm, yeah,
right? And so how do
yeah.
you get through that? I mean, there's so many women
Oh,
that are listening that I have never found one woman, there's been a clear path, easy sailing for not one person. There is always something that is, the universe is like, I'm going to put it something in the middle to try and derail you. And let's see how you get through that.
that's right. I believe that too. And see how you respond. And if you
Sink or
can,
swim.
right? Yeah, that was a moment. So that was after my daughter was 11 months old. And my brother, the one who was closest in age to me, 2 years older, um, wanted to come to visit for Canada Day. And I was overwhelmed, like my daughter was a real colic baby. And he had come at Christmas time because I remember I have a picture of him and I and my dog, Kenya, dog's name Kenya, on the canal. But I was just exhausted, and I was like, I'm sorry, I just don't think it's a good time right now. And of course, now I regret that forever. But yeah, we found my brother a week later. He had taken a drug overdose. And it was devastating. I mean, there's just no words to describe it. It was when I found out, I was in the backyard at my place, and I just started screaming and pounding the ground, and I lost it big time. So it went on, I guess, so long that my neighbors came over, and yeah, it was horrible. Yeah.
And that was how many years ago now, Kelly? You're only
20.
35. I mean, that,
It was 20 years ago, but it could be yesterday. It's the
mm,
way that world works. It doesn't always leave your mind. And yeah, it was really hard. I mean, the thing with him too is that I was the one who our parents split, and I was younger than him, of course, and he really struggled more with the divorce. My dad moved on and had a son same age as my brother. We always had that dynamic. And then my
mm,
dad ended up with another third partner who also had a son around our age. But I just kept excelling. Do you know what I mean? Like he didn't make it even through high school,
mm,
and he just didn't feel good, right? There was something missing inside him. He
mm.
was sad, and we couldn't fill it. But what was hard for me too was just I'm like, okay, well, this is my journey, my life. I'm doing my thing, right? I'm just going about doing my thing. So anytime I came home from school and I finished university. He hadn't. Then I went to Africa, came home excited. Everyone's all excited about it. He wasn't progressing.
Mm,
And that was always hard to deal with because I ended up dimming the light of what I was doing to make sure he wasn't feeling badly.
mm.
And that went on since high school. Um, so that was always a dynamic I was living. But then when he died, I mean, that was like, there's just no words to describe the pain and the experience. It's just horrible. Having gone
How do
through
you,
that,
Kelly, how do you get, there's so many people that have lost loved ones, and Christmas is a really hard time. We're coming on the hardest time of the year.
mhm,
Like you said, it could be yesterday, and it's been over 2 decades. Um, how do how did you get through that time period, and how do you continue to get through that time period when you are feeling such grief?
well, I felt really horrible that he didn't feel loved enough to stay on around, and I felt guilty. I felt responsible. Um, you never, and this took a huge chunk of my confidence when he died, like huge, and I had never recovered it. Um,
Oh, Kelly, I'm
yeah.
hugging you virtually right now. This is so raw. This is the raw and real part of the podcast because sometimes these stories and journeys who make us as indie, like as warrior women as we are, they're so there's something inside that's still so raw and how would you say, delicate.
Mhm. Yeah,
Even though you're ready to run down a street and tackle the guy that grabbed you, there's a delicate side that remains.
definitely vulnerable side for
A
sure.
very, very strong vulnerable side. And I think that's our superpower as well,
Yeah.
is the
So
relatability.
yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, I guess I felt well, I threw myself into the survivors of suicide group. I did a lot of reading, of course, how to counsel. Like I went resource overload. I made this massive toolkit basically of how do I get through this. That was one big piece. And then having gone through that, I was just like, you know what? He's made his choices, but I have my life to live. And I'm I've got things I want to do, and I'm not going to be stuck being defined by this experience. And sure, it's a horrific one. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and I worry about it all the time. There's so much of it going on nowadays. We're more, or at least we're hearing more about it. But um, I felt I want to have a second child, and so I did, and I had my son. And sometimes I wonder if his beautiful spirit is now in my son. My son's a wonderful boy, like a wonderful guy. He's 21 now, and he has a lot of resemblance and looks to my brother. Everyone always says that, but my son has more resilience and inner strength in spite of the divorce he has now been through. But yeah, it is a hard journey, and I feel what got me through was just the wanting to have my own. I didn't want to be defined by it. I already said that. I think that was the real thing. I wanted to be. There's more I had to do.
Mm,
And I even feel that now. Like even when I face adversity, I'm like, who? I don't want all these situations are just coming up. It's like keep trying to get almost in my way of what I want to do or what I meant to do. Because there's a certain part of me that feels I've been placed here to do certain things.
a bigger purpose, girl.
I got a much bigger purpose, and I think it just keeps. It's like you remember that game where you whack-a-mos. It's like
I do whack-a-mole.
I just keep popping up, right? So it's just there's a reason for that, and I think it's getting what we're doing here today maybe is part of it, like letting other people know that you can go through and still survive these hard
Absolutely.
times, that you have to expect um, some adversity in life. That's life. But knowing that is helpful. It's like I say about people getting married, which I would have benefited from this advice. You have to know at the beginning, there will be valleys. There will be peaks, but there will be valleys. And a big valley is usually when your kid is around, I don't know, 7 to 10. And that's often when marriages fall apart. And I just finished talking about this to a gentleman the other day because he's like, suddenly we were going to do something and he's like, suddenly he had to go off on a trip with his wife. And I said, how old are your
Oh,
kids? And he told me, I said, you need to go, you need to focus, and you need to understand that this is temporary, that you're going through this is the hard part of marriage. But go and spend time, focus on your marriage. It will pay off because people fall apart at that particular juncture. Anyway, all to say that we have to realize we're going to face adversity. We need to create resilience in ourselves, and all these experiences help to remind us of the strength we have when we get through it, and that there's other things that we are needing to do on this planet before we go. Those are other people's experiences, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I hope that the people that are listening, so listeners, if you whatever you're going through right now, just know that it's for a bigger purpose. And talking about where you are and what you're doing and the big things that you're doing and the changes that you're making in your warrior mentality about moving forward and driving that change, um, are led with a bigger purpose. And so from a
Yeah.
laptop, a business card to leading a national and global initiatives.
Yeah.
What did that rebuilding from the ground up teach you about courage and really self-trust?
It's an excellent question. Um,
That confidence piece.
Self-trust is really such a good way to put it, because of course I was riddled with some doubts with things that had happened in my life. From my upbringing where, girls were really to be, they weren't the ones to aspire for much, and being basically the focus was always on the boys. That doesn't insert and instill much confidence when you're a kid. But then constantly overcoming those traditional mindsets quietly started to build that trust, that self-trust that you speak of. And as you go through these experiences and these adversity moments and you overcome them, and then you overcome another one, and then you're like, okay, I can't, do not serve me any more negative. Like, I cannot take another hit. And then another comes, right? So it's just like when you do continually overcome them and you are actually doing pretty okay, to your point, the self trust starts to build from the toes up, right? It's just, you just start to realize, you know what? Like, and I'm somebody who's like on to the next thing all the time. And the recognition that you've got with the Women of Inspiration is really meaningful to me because I haven't had as much of that. It's been more just motoring on to the next thing. Um, and it really makes a difference because it helps to build your confidence and helps you to rely on yourself and know, like when I stop and take stock of things, it's like, wow, like people are like, Kelly, what is wrong with you? So many things. You should have no questions here. I'm like, yeah, well, thanks for pointing it out, because I'm busy now focusing on the next thing. But it is that self-trust that I think through these experiences and adversity that we overcome that builds it.
Mm, absolutely. I refer to it as the resilience muscles. Like I'm
Mm.
like, oh my God, those pipes. There's resilience there, and it is. It's like almost going to the gym. You
Mm-hmm.
build, you
Absolutely.
grow. You build, you grow.
I agree. Yeah, totally
Beautiful.
agree.
Um, so let's talk about, we talk about the men that have sort of been in your world that sort of you've been immersed into a male-dominated industry, from a very, very young age, and even in your family with your family. So tell us about those support hers because I believe we're entering, and I've talked about it with you women,
Hmm.
is that I believe that we're entering into the power era where it's a new type of leadership where it's not just women, we're fighting by ourselves. We need to have those men at the table that are actually working together towards a common purpose and goal. So let's talk about the importance of having role models and support hers in our circle. And
I
we're,
think it's critical. I don't have enough of them, to be quite
Mhm.
honest. Growing up, I think we referenced I talk about my mother was sort of looking out for me, which was good. I had an older sister, always envious of me right from the day of birth. And that's created a new understanding of what women relationships could be. And I like it was confusing. It still is to this day, because that should be a source of support and strength and friendship and cover. But I didn't have that ever, ever. So, and when I've been in the work world with this male dominant industries, women have been very hard against other women.
Mm.
And in fact, with the story we haven't revealed here today, but if anyone's interested in the challenges that you face as a female in male dominated sectors, it's not just the men. In fact, I think it's more the women. And that's
Let's
going to
dive
be,
in to talk about some of those challenges because let's call the kettle black.
mhm.
Let
I'm often
let's
the one calling it black. So yeah,
Yes. Okay, so Kelly, how has that been calling it black? Calling it just really saying it for what it is, speaking out. And we talk about the importance of speaking out, but it's not always the easiest road.
that's right. It's not a popular thing to do. You will not be popular per se. I have some support with me, my work online. Like I'm a solopreneur. Like the amount of things I've been able to achieve has been great, and there are supporters, but there are certainly a lot of women who I know that don't show the support. There are women
Why do you think that
who have
is?
tried to sabotage me. I think they're insecure. I think I mean it's
They
completely
want what you have.
okay, yeah. Like
Like,
I work from the seven virtues. We live in the seven deadly sins. Okay, that is the like the Coles notes. And it's like I have never been jealous of people. I'm always like, you have that? Wow, let's be friends. This could be fun, you know? Like we put our pool in our backyard a few years ago. Our neighbors went bonkers on us. They tried everything with bylaw to get rid of it and everything. And I was just like, if it were me, I'd be like bringing over some homemade muffins.
oh,
Like,
me too. I'd be bringing my bathing suit and some wine.
yeah, but they did everything opposite. So yeah, it was one of those points of the jealousy. So yeah, I don't operate that way. So when it happens, it's foreign to me. I'd rather collaborate. I'm sure we have things in common. Like there's more, I'm a 1 + 1 = 3 gal, like together we could do so much more. But not everyone thinks that way. And I've learned shocking behaviors through my work where a woman in the male dominated industry who had power in her position mobilized a whole bunch of people to undermine an initiative that was creating effective, positive change for women. But she wanted to run the show. She wanted the limelight. She wanted to control it, which I was warned about at the beginning. But I thought, well, bring her into the tent, we'll have her as part of the team and all. Like that's the way I think, that's the way I roll. But soon into that, it was clear she was trying to take it over and undermine in any opportunity she could. And she abused her power to do so. Um, anyway, that's kind of the gross side of people. And another sort of hurdle I've had to overcome and digest the toxicity of behavior that we have to navigate. It's like it's bad enough for women with men hitting on them and stuff. And I've been through that. But for women, I was just like, okay, this takes the cake. Like we're here to be supportive. Like there's not enough of us around. You shouldn't be doing that. Full
Yeah.
stop.
So, how do you, and so I've interviewed our fellow awardee, Erin Gallagher. We've talked about that mean girl energy, and it's very evident that it is there, but when we talked about it, it was like when you start feeling those things, that envy, that bad behavior coming out, it's really pointed because she has what I want. And so, I think there's an opportunity where we can learn from those things. And if, somebody listening goes, "Oh my God, like I don't want to be that person. I want to change my behaviors. I think there's a real opportunity to change behaviors. And, I'm maybe too much of an optimist. I don't really play in the lane where I'm not supporting other women. Like, I'm not comfortable with that behavior at all. And I
Mm.
don't stay in that area, nor do I drive in that lane, right? And so I think that moving forward, how do you feel that we can actually still speak up, move forward, and make change and really identify that behavior, but lead by example?
Well, what you're doing, Monica, is an incredibly important part of that. And I'm sure you know that, but I need to tell you that, and I want listeners to hear that because your focus of shining a light on people who are doing their darndest to improve things in spite of the crazy dynamics we're facing or the odds um, does give that recognition and understanding to everyone else that this is possible and
Mm.
that you are supportive. Like one of the exciting things about the whole word, I think I already told you this several times, is just having these other amazing women. It's like you are supported. What a concept.
Oh my God. Yes. And they're
Light
all,
bulbs. They're all
and they
great
have the same
people.
values.
Right. And they're all capable, like they're all confident in their own stuff. They're all doing their own thing. They're like, I want to hear more about what you're doing because this is really cool. And like, that's the way it should be. So if you've seen all my posts on this, it's like, these are my people. I keep saying these are my people because it's refreshing.
Mm. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. And it was intentional from the get-go because from the get-go, I saw silos. I saw silos and women in boxes. And you and I have talked about my story, but when I started the company, it was like I want to create a network where every woman's voice belonged based on a value system, a shared value system. And so it's really been, I think it has a lot to do with the values. They're shared values and incredible women doing incredible things, but it's the value set that is actually binding them versus um, job titles, roles, industries, blah, blah, blah.
I agree.
Do you agree?
Yes,
Like
I
there's an
do.
energy people are talking about, and you just nailed it. It's just that it's different. It's almost unheard of. It's very rare. And I'm not going to say that all of the awardees over the past decade have been playing by that same song, but they silently go away. And that's it, right? The others stay on the table and they get involved and they participate, and it's kind of in their ethos, right? But
Hmm.
there's people that fall off the bandwagon. That's fine because it's not comfortable.
Yeah, well, you get your concentrated good group. It's like methane versus CO2. You've got your methane group.
Yep. But it's very small. Like it's incredibly small, right?
Mhm.
But thank you. I really appreciate that because yeah, you know that when you're building your vision, you're just like, you're happy that people are flourishing and they feel valued and feel seen. That's super important. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, but you're the seed, right? You're the one who's built that. So yeah, I want you to know that. And I try and sing your praises everywhere I go. So
Well, and I see that, and I've
good.
commented, and I really appreciate that because it does mean a great deal to me. I find that women at the positions in top roles don't hear it enough that they're doing a good job. And we all want to hear that we're doing a good job. Just like after we're done this interview, I swear I will hit end and then we'll have a debrief, and you're like, how did I do? Every single time, every single conversation, everyone wants to know how did they do in the interview?
So funny. Well, there was a woman I know through work that reposted my award post and just was saying, I'm so proud of of Kelly and what she's done. And I was like, wow. I wrote her a comment. I was like, wow, like, thank you. Thank you for being nice. Like, it's so unexpected, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But for someone to actually go, hey, you know what? I've been following the work of Kelly and she's this and that. I was just like, this is really nice. Thanks for your leadership because we need more women to do this. We need more women to
Mm.
amplify each other instead of being like, I know people who are just don't even like it. And they're friends. So it's
So
like,
that's a
okay,
whole other conversation. Family,
what's happening
people
here?
that are close to you don't see your light as clear. And I find that the circles of friends that you have that are even close to you that maybe you've outgrown in
Mhm.
some areas, but your blood in others. Um, so yes, that's a whole other
That's a
conversation
whole other
because
thing. Mhm.
sometimes the people closest to you are not, you're guaranteed they're probably not the biggest supporters. They see you all the time. They don't see, do you know what I mean? They see
Yeah.
you all the time. They're kind of bored of you.
Yeah.
Anyways, Kelly, I just want to say thank you so much for an amazing podcast. This was truly, I forgot we were recording, to be honest. And so, listeners, you got some really authentic conversations today. The background, the story of the Kelly, who is the Kelly behind this Center for um, oh my goodness, here. Two-time author, global change leader, and the Center for Social Intelligence. And also our 2025 Woman of Inspiration Vision Builder Awardee. So thank you so much, Kelly. Before we wrap up, I do have a couple last questions, and I would love for you to share your definition of a woman of inspiration with our listeners today.
Well, I would say a woman of inspiration is somebody who has values that are unwavering in spite of the adversity they're given. And they are committed and they have like a vision of what their life will be or what their purpose is. And they know they have the resources within themselves to bring it to life, bring it to fruition. They're humble, they're courageous, they're resilient. That would be, I guess, a quick idea
Beautiful.
there. Yeah.
I'd say that if I had a mirror right now, it'd be like, that's you. It's really interesting because
Mm.
as you say that, I see that woman in you. So it's really special to be surrounded by such incredible leaders and women that lead by example. They're not afraid to say yes, and they keep pushing others up with them. So, Kelly, you've got two books, and you mentioned them within the podcast. And of course, we've started the Monica's Bookshelf, so they're on the
Love that.
bookshelf, which is
Yeah.
exactly amazing because we want to amplify more female stories and the works that female, have authored because we need more of those stories told. They're like a vault.
Mhm.
So, tell our listeners where they can get a hold of your two books.
Amazon, first of all, okay. But also my website, which is the www.center. That's the Canadian Center, CENTRE, for the word social intelligence, all one word, Center for Social Intelligence.ca. Now, the second book is not out yet. I've been having some challenges with my editor. So the new year is the timeline for that. But you can get an early copy on my website, which I'd love
Beautiful.
for people to get. And I can definitely sign a copy if they go through my website.
Fantastic. So, listeners, two books worth grabbing, and it's not only empowering leaders and mindset, but it's also the personal stories behind the pages and the author as well. So, that's super helpful. Kelly, and one more question for you. Um, what do you do? Like, what's your daily non-negotiable? I want to know what your daily non-negotiable is that Kelly will do every single day that sets you up for success.
Daily.
Daily or almost daily.
Exercise, 100% exercise, especially when we're talking about adversity and dealing with things. What doesn't keep me down is going to the gym, going to yoga, walking my dog in the woods. It's to, I just keep movement.
Hmm,
Movement's
so
important
important.
and it calms me as well. It's all good for the mind, body, soul. Yes.
Well, Kelly, I just want to say thank you again. Your courage just isn't about standing tall, it's about creating space for others to rise, with you. Congratulations once again on your Woman of Inspiration podcast, your Woman of Inspiration Vision Builder Award. And listeners, this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast. We thank you so much for joining us. And if you loved this episode, share it widely. There's always, always somebody that needs to hear this message. And give us a subscribe and check out Kelly's website and connect and follow and comment. Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks, Monica. That's great.